recall our shape superclass, which has a height attribute. And here we've added a default constructor that sets the height to 5.0 for this shape and outputs that the default constructor of this superclass was called. And similarly, we have a parameterized constructor that sets the height of this object and outputs that the parameterized constructor for this superclass was called. Now if we go to our rectangle class, we see that the shape constructor is not inherited. And in general, constructors are not inherited in Java. And the superclass constructor can be called from the first line of the subclass constructor by using the keyword super and passing in the appropriate parameters. So here we expect that the parameterized constructor will be invoked because we've called super with a single double parameter being height. So if we create a rectangle object here and run this program, we see that the parameterized constructor of the superclass was invoked. So the height was set to 5.5 and the area of the rectangle is 55. So the actual parameters that were passed in the call to the superclass constructor provide values that the constructor can use to initialize the object's instance variables. So as we saw, a height of 5.5 was used to initialize the height instance variable. Now when a subclass's constructor does not explicitly call a superclass's constructor using super, then Java inserts a call to the superclass's no-argument constructor. So for example, I'm going to comment out this line and run this program again. And we see that the default constructor of the superclass was called, where the height of the rectangle was set to 5. So therefore the length being 10 multiplied by the height being 5 gives 50 in this instance, because the default constructor was called. And similarly, we can call the default constructor by calling super and passing in no parameters. And we get the same result. Now regardless of whether the superclass constructor is called implicitly, so for example, it's called without actually calling super in the code, or explicitly, where we explicitly call super, the process of calling superclass constructors continues until the object constructor is called. So ultimately, we have a hierarchy. So a rectangle is a shape, and a shape is an object, and the object class is at the top of the hierarchy. And in general, all objects in Java instantiate the object class. So therefore all of the constructors within the hierarchy execute beginning with the object constructor.